we are going to be using PyCharm. So I'm going to click here and type PyCharm, and that's going to bring me into here. Now I'm just going to do a simple thing. We all remember how we were using PyCharm and rest of them. For the sake of some of us that are not actually comfortable with using most of this, I am going to open the matplotlibs we have been using. What I'm saying is that some of us are going to find it hard, like installing some of the datas, like installing some of the models that we have been using. So I am simply going to make it narrow for us, because some of the things we are going to be using on this, we have been using on matplotlib. We are like going to use some of those models in which is later, that is in our visualization. So because of that, I want to make something easy for us. So I will quickly return back to the location. Now for me, the location of where my data is located is here. If you look here, if you go here, matplotlib we have been using, you can see here you have user c PyCharm. If you look at it, you see that I have a directory where this data is located here. As you can see here, if you go to the fact here, if you go to open or copy directory, if you say move directory open, you will see this here. This is the location where it is located. For my sake, you can see copy reference directory here. So I'm going to click on copy reference directory, and here you can see C absolute path. I'll copy the absolute path, then I will return back here, and then I'm going to Explorer, and I'm going to paste this directory here, and that is automatically going to take me to GitHub here. So you can see a GitHub here. These are different. Go ahead. If you question, go ahead and ask. All right. So since we get that question or it's a message, yeah, we can't see your screen. I believe is there another person having issues seeing my screen? Please, can you say something? I have issues seeing my screen. All right. So Collins, I think you have to try mic joining again. I don't know what is the problem, but I think I shared my screen. All right, so I return to the matplotlib here, and I'm just going to do copy, and then I'm going to paste it, and that's going to copy this. Ideally, you're supposed to start afresh, but I know that some of us are having issues like network issues, like having issue making the installation. That has been a very big issue to some of us. So if you're having such kind of issues, I don't want you to start, because if you don't have fast network, you're likely not going to get this done fast. So you are probably going to stop somewhere trying to fix this particular issue, and that's the reason why I want us to go to the matplotlib that we have been using, because we have installed that, and I want us to use it independently, because currently I'm using matplotlib. Sorry, we have used matplotlib, which we are going to go back again based on our outline, but we are now starting with pandas, which we are starting new. And I know that some of us might be having issues too from installing Git, because those are supposed to be installed, and I know that we have done that in matplotlib. So I just want to make a copy of that directory and put it in a fresh one, so that we are not going to have a kind of struggle with making those kind of installation. But nevertheless, if you want to start afresh, you remember those videos we did earlier when we make a copy of those, where we make those installations. You can go back anytime and revisit it. Why I'm doing this is those who are having, if not, it would have been this normal way we go and install some of the models like matplotlib or pandas or numpy. All those things we have installed, it's just the same process. But I am just doing this because of those who are probably going to run into issues of making those. So that's just why I'm doing this. If not, I wouldn't have actually get to do the way I am going to do it now. So I just go to matplotlib, which I know that we have installed. The Git is working and everything is working. So that is exactly where I want us to. Now look, that's exactly what I want us to do. Why I'm doing this, so that we will not run into problems related to this. So I am copying this. Now return back here. You can see this is actually which is matplotlib, and then you can see some of the code we have here. These are where we stopped last time. So you can see different things we have done here. So that's exactly what I just want to copy here. So when I copy, you can see the path it's going to be a copy file. So it's about 92%. So in 15 seconds, we should be done with that. So on that, I am just going to rename it and name it as matplotlib. That's exactly what I'm going to rename it as pandas, to replace the pandas we are going to work on now. So if you look here, you can see matplotlib copy. So I'm just going to click there and rename it as pandas. Now I'll just copy pandas and go inside the folder of this particular pandas, and then you can see still have this here. So I can send this away. So this is here, and then I'm just going to replace it with also with pandas here, as you see here. Now inside here, you can see we have pandas here. So I can copy the directory, or I can just go inside pandas here, and then copy here and just go to the directory and copy, return back here, and just say open, go to project or file here and click on open. When I click on open, you can see the directory here. Then I can scroll down here to pandas. You can see pandas here, and I'll click OK. Now it will ask me here, I will say open on this window. Now it will open. Now, what is the difference? The visual environment is here because I just copied it. Every other thing is here, but there are some of the modification we just need to make. One, you can see that the directory of this project is matplotlib. Now, the location of this is Pandas, but if you see here, see it is about saving it to the right thing, so it is still opening to the right thing. So if you go to settings here, you can go to down to setting here, and then you can see that here interpreter we have this here. So these are what we have in Panda. So I don't want you to go and start installing Jupyter Lab. If you want to install it like that, like we did before. I don't want us to go ahead and start installing matplotlib. If you want to do that, you can do it the way we did it before. Now, if you also go to version control here, you can see here that in GitHub here, if you click on it, you can see this is here, which is still retaining the previous one we use. If you click on GitHub here, you can see my account here, which is here. It is active here. Now, if you go to click on this three dot here, you can see GitHub here. Go down to GitHub here, or you can say manage remote here, and you can see this is matplotlib. It is still here. So for me, I'm going to remove it, which I'm going to click on minus and get it removed. So I have removed this. So I can click on the new one like this. I can create new one. So if I want to do that, but I have removed this one, then it doesn't have anything again. You can see now, if you look at it, you see it doesn't have the directory again. So if you click here, return back to Git, and then go to here to manage remote, you see there is nothing here. Now, if I also click on Git, and then I can go to Git here, and I can say here on the under GitHub here, and I can say share on the GitHub. Now it will ask me to say it is now reading my account. As you can see, I want to remove it from private. I want to make it public. If I want it private, I will keep it private. If not, I'll make it public. So I will click on share. And this will help it create a new file directory for me. That is a new GitHub for me. So it is now open this particular GitHub directory for me. So now if you look here, you see here it is still under PyCharm and matplotlib. So with this, you can see here is Pandas. So I am doing this because of the sake of what we are doing right here, to avoid those who are having issues with internet and rest of them. So if not, repeat the same process as we did the installation of Jupyter Lab, the way we did matplotlib, and then just make the same installation if you are starting afresh, like creating a new project. If not, this is just what I just want us to do in order to save us the time of getting this done. So this is just it here. Now, as it is, it means that this particular project or this have already Jupyter Lab. How do you know? Go to settings here, go here, and then you will see down here that if you go to version control, this is version control. If you go to Pandas here, as you see here, go to Python interpreter, and then load this. You can see that all other packages are here. Let me close this a bit. If you close up this, you can see that all other packages are here, and then from here you can install available packages. You can install new package. If you look here, you see this is what we have been using. So if you go to J, you can see Jupyter Lab, as you can see. So this is a place you can see Jupyter Lab have been installed. You can see it here, it have actually been installed. So if you want, now what we need to add more here now is Pandas. That is what I want to do right now. So if I go here, and then you can see downloading package info. So it's downloading package info, so it brings it here. If your own did not come, just click on this to refresh the package info. Now come here and type Pandas, or you can do pip install Pandas. That will also work. So I'm just going to say Pandas, and you can see Pandas here. Now click on it and it will load here, and you can see here the next thing it says here, install packages. I'll click on install packages. Now, depending on the speed of my internet and the speed of my PC, this is going to be installed. As you can see, it is installing. I can click close while I wait for it to finish installing. So I click OK, and you can see it will be running under here. So on this case, I can type Jupyter Lab the way we use. So we type Jupyter here and lab, and then I press enter, and that's going to connect with my Jupyter Lab. So it says successfully created pandas on GitHub but failed to push. So we are going to resolve this later. So you can see it is now connecting and it is going on down until it gets open. So these have actually opened for me on my local host here, as you can see here. So it is now opening up and it is opening Jupyter Lab. So for the sake of what we are talking about, I'm going to close this, and then I can also return back here, which is this particular place, and then I can close this. So I can now close see this, and then I will start afresh again by typing PyCharm. So when I click on PyCharm, and this is going to open. Now my PyCharm is going to open depending on the speed of my internet. So you can see here that the IDE is running and it is opening. Now if you look here, you see that it have opened here, and you can see here Pandas. Now it is scanning the file, and if you look at the directory down here, you can see that it have it here to this. Now what do I need to do if I want to change the directory? What do I need to do? I will type cd here and double, you can see here double dot. I'll press enter, and you see it return back here. And I can also do dr, which is directory, and I will see all the directory in that folder. I am interested in what? In pandas here. As you can see, I can now do cd change directory is change directory. What directory do I want to change? I will type it to pandas. I can press tab to bring the rest of it. So once I press tab, because I tap ban, it actually shows me here. All right, you can still see my screen. All right, so when I click on pandas, and I can press enter, and that will automatically put it in pandas. So if I click on directory, that's going to bring all the directories as you see in pandas for me. So let's go straight into using the data to what it is right now. Now on this, if you go to setting, this is just a setup that I just want us to understand. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So if you go to the interpreter, if the pandas has been installed, so if you type pandas here on this, you are going to see that the pandas here has been installed, as you can see here. Yeah, go ahead if you have question.
So I'm kind of the only one that cannot see his screen because it's certainly like before enjoying.
All right, let me
Yeah,
let me reshare.
you're not seeing the screen again.
Sorry about that. Let me reshare my screen. I believe you can see my screen now, right?
Yes, yes.
All right, great. Okay, so I am here again. So I am now, if you look at this directory, you can see it is in pandas automatically. So what am I going to do? In this directory, I can use local 1 or 2, whichever one that I want to use, but I'm going to use local 1, which is in pandas. I'm going to type Jupyter Lab like this, and I'll press enter, and that's going to open up a Jupyter Lab for me. You can see it is linking up and it is opening, and it has successfully opened. Now what did I do? It saved me the stress of downloading all those other modules that we are downloading, and then just open up here. On a quick one, let's start. Now if you am here, I will go to file, I will go to new, I want to use notebook. I'll click on it here, then I'll right click here. Okay, so first I will click select, I'll right click here and say rename. So notebook, I'm going to type it pandas. So maybe I can just put it pandas as related to today, or let me just leave it on pandas and rename. Now this is what is here. Now this is pandas, this is our interface like we have already known. Now we are going to use the data we used last time, which is Nigerian hospital. This is the Nigerian hospital here. I'm just going to right click here and click on copy. The Nigerian hospital we used before, I just want to copy it, and then I'm returning back here. I want to right click on the pandas here, the main root, and then go to new and say directory here. Then when I click on it, I am going to put here as data. Now data will create a new folder because that's where I want to be keeping all the data I want to be working on. Then I'm going to right click here and I'm going to click on paste. On the data is where I right click and I'm clicking on paste. And then this is the data of Nigerian that I copy, and I can click OK. Now when I click OK, that's going to copy, and you can see it have copied it. I want to add it to GitHub because I want to use it later, both when we'll be working on online. So if you see here, this is the data of Nigeria that we have been using. This is a very long of them. It's a long list like we have inspected before. So this is the list of the Nigerian health facilities that we have been using. Now let's leave here. We have pasted it in the directory here called this. Now there is something we need to move. We move in down here, and this is where we'll start writing our code to access the data. First and foremost, before we do this, I want us to talk about what it means by tables. And in that, remember, like I said earlier, we are going to be using import pandas as ed, which is the normal way we used to call it. But now I want us to talk about the data, so I'm going to use the df, which is the data we are going to be using. For now, I just want us to talk about tables, data frame. So I am just going to use the example in data frame to explain what I'm saying. Then in the data frame that we're going to use example, we remember that because we call pandas, we are going to say pd, and then we are going to use data frame like this, like we use, because it is a keyword. Then I am just going to bring in here a dictionary. Then in that dictionary, remember the dictionary goes with key and value. So I'm just going to use my name. So I'm going to use my name here, which I'm going to put it like this. This is the key. Then what are my names? In that names, I want to make it in a list because I want to give us a practical example. The first name I'm going to put is that I'm going to write my first name, so which I'm going to type as Kinsley. And then next is comma, the same way we work with dictionary. I'm going to use Chica. The same way we put comma, and then I'm going to use my surname. The same name we type in this. So after that, we have put up this, so you remember to use your comma because it continued. And then after Chuku, what next happens? Remember that you started with what? The list. So I have to close up with the list, which we like the square bracket we use. So I have to close it up because I'm done with this particular one. So I'll put comma. Then what else do I need to put again that might be interest? Maybe let's use something like in numbers. Okay, let me use that this is 3 persons, and then I want to go with another key again, which I am going to use as age. So let me assume that my age, and then Kinsley, that is Kinsley age, Shaker age, so he's 12 years, and then the next person there is 45 years old, the next person there is 34 years old. So like sorry, comma, 34 years old, and then you close this up. And then remember again, because you did that, you have to put comma because the age has been concluded. What else do we need to put? Let's put state as, say, state of origin. So let us start with state, and then it is a key. Let's put the value. So what are state we are going to use? So I'm going to come from Ebonyi, then I'm also going to come from Enugu, then I'm also going to come from Abia. Then this is the 3 states. Remember the principle we have been using. Then after that, because it is also this, so we need to close it up. Then what else is remaining? We need to put up our comma. And then after that, we can now say, because it is a dictionary, then let's close the dictionary we have started. And then because we started with open bracket, let us also close it with open bracket. Let's close it with bracket. Then after then, what is the name of our data? So we can access the data in this format. So it is df. So I'm going to close it. So if I run this particular code, the data frame, this is df pd.pf, there is never a close. So there is a mistake, which is that I did not close the bracket here. This was my bad. So if you run this, as you can see, these have actually created a table, a data frame. These data I've put in the different ways have now actually been shortened to a table format, which have to be with the columns, row and columns, that even though it is not in a table format, I've ended up making this data in rows and column. So this is exactly what I just did now by using this data frame keyword, and this have actually put these things. This is the name as the column name, this is the name as the column name, and this is the state as the column name. So this becomes the values which is going to be in rows. So remember our index from 0 to 3 to 1, which is 1 to 3, and this is exactly what you have now. What did I do? I ended up formatting it into the data frame. Now what else again? If I want to access any of this, I can just say df, which I can access. For example, if I want to access the name only, I can now go and type the name. Remember the keyword the way it is, so it's ought to be in the format of the keyword. So if I close that up that same way and I run this particular cell, that's going to only access the name I have only, and then as well the data type. So if I need for the age, I can also call for the age. As you can see, if I rerun it again, that's going to give me the age. And if I also need to see the state, I do the same thing. Now what if I want to see the age and then also what is the biggest number or the minimum number? Then I can go to the age. Let me use the age, and then I can go here and say inside this age, whether the data is as long as it is, you can make any query on it. So for me, I'm going to say that inside this age, what is the minimum number? So I can say which of this age have the minimum number. If I run it with minimum, I can see that the smallest one is the 12. If I say the maximum, I can just put max. Remember we talked about this when we did math operators. So if I run this the biggest one is 45. And then if I want to know the total of the age, I can just type sum, for example. And if I run sum, this is going to give me the sum of it. So let me a bit zoom close. So you can see now this gave me sum of this age, which is 12 plus 45 plus 34. Now this is a way I can access each of the item one by one. So this is a way we can access it, and you can see it shows me the data type as well as the type of integer 64, which is what it is. Now what if I say the df describe, because remember that we are using this because we are going to be accessing a big data set that we might not have access to see what is inside. So how do we come about working with them? So I am using this keyword for us to remember. When I say describe the age, it tells me that the age is 3 count, the mean is 30, the standard deviation is 16, the minimum is 12, 25% of it is 23, down to the maximum is 45. So this is just like using a describing keyword to get this done for me. Now what does it mean? Remember our keyword we have been using. What if I say this dot head, and that's going to give me the head, which is giving me the first five. So you can see now it is in structured table. Now what do I want to introduce to us to? I just wanted us to know, how do you access all these data, taking a data and put them in data frame. Now quickly, let's move into the action of bringing the data we have been working, because I just introduced how we can put them in data frame, in tables, row and columns. So we don't have much time, so on a quick one, let's go into bringing the data here. Like you remember in the other one we imported in collaboratory, but today we are going to have the data inside the PyCharm here. Inside here we have the data. What do we need to do? I'm going to come here to copy the directory, right click on the data of Excel, click on copy path, and then I'm going to copy this directory file name, as you can see here, path from the root, you can see it here. So I'm going to copy this, then I will return down here where we are working, and then I'm going to call this data as our data. That's what we're going to use. So you can call it your name or whatever you want. Remember to read pandas is going to be pandas dot read underscore CSV. If it is CSV, because this data is in CSV, if it is Excel, it is going to be underscore XL, XL, XS, that is XXL. So it's going to be in Excel format, but since it is CSV, it's going to be CSV like this. And then we open up bracket, we paste here, and we paste the directory of the data, and then we click on this and we close it. If it is one bracket, remain in one bracket. If it is two bracket, make it two. Sorry, if it is two comma, that is apostrophe up there, parenthesis. So make sure that the parenthesis here, that is open and close, is the same thing here. If it is one, make it one. If it is two, make it two. Now if you go here and you run this, you are going to have this as correct. So you can see the data is located there. But let me explain something which is critical, because I know that this might happen. But before we go that, let me click data here, dot head, and then click open and close and run this. Then you can see the head of the data. You can see it in table as you can see here. So this is the head of this data, which is this Excel we see here. The first one is GRA nursing global ID. You can see here, if you return back here, you can see that GRA nursing global ID. You can see every data as it is here. But I know you are likely going to have this kind of issue for you. So I am going to tell you, how do you know the working directory you are working on? This is very, very important, and I want you to take critical aspect of this, because you are going to run into this problem yourself because of several reasons. Jupyter Notebook have a working directory. Whether you are there or not, it doesn't know. So for you to know which directory are you working on, you are working on, because when you do this, it will tell you the directory not found. When it says directory not found, just know that you are not in the right working directory. Not right working directory, but where you are working might probably not be off from where it ought to be. So if you look at workspace here, you can see it is on the default, but that's not what I want to show you. So what I want to tell you is that once you copy the way I copy and paste, and it tells you that you are not found, or you are not, the data you mentioned is not there, simply do this. Go here and put import, and then import your OS, which is operating system, and then after operating system, say give me the directory. So say OS get me, which is get working directory. So the working directory is C current working directory. This is just the current code, which you say give me the current working directory. If you run this, it's going to bring you here. Now what I'm trying to say is that, assuming, let me give us a practical example right now. Assuming that I am not in this working directory, let me change it to maybe another place. So I'm just going to change this. So I'm going to say os dot change working directory, that is change the directory. And then I now go ahead and open up this, and let me go here and then copy here, and then let me return to any casual location. So let me go to chore list app and then copy here and copy these things, return back here on the directory I'm working, and say change to this working directory, for example. Then if I run it, it is telling me that this particular code, this is this. So the reason is because of the location. You are going to have this because this is supposed to have an escape file. So to get the right one, you can use this, like I say here, just come here where you are. So copy this particular one here. You can see exactly what I have here. It is telling me that it does not have a double backspace. So that's the problem I'm having here. So I'm going to copy this, since all of them are in the same location but change location. So I'm going to paste this. Now I maintain this directory, so I'm going to put backslash twice, and if I run this, it will completely change the working directory. So it's telling me that file app this does not found. You can see this particular thing I'm saying. So let me remove pandas because I didn't put it the right way. So let me take it out and remaining this, and I run it, and you can see now that I have changed my working directory. So what it means is that if I say here this particular data that I run it, and then you can see now that it is telling me that this particular file directory is not found. You can see this particular directory is not found, and you are going to get this. So if you have this error, when you know that you are here in the PyCharm and you copy this correctly, and then you're having this error, just know that this is a way you can change the working directory. So what you just need to do is return back to this place. Once you get this error, return back to this place, come and say give me the working directory, like I did here. give me the working directory, and you run it like this, and it will show you are in this working directory. This is where you are. Then what you're going to do is say change the working directory to the location where you store the data. How do you know the location where you store the data? Click on this. You can see this line here is where you are here. You can see this thing coming up here. That is exactly where you are, and that is your location where you are working. So you come back here to that particular place and replace this. So for me, I'm working in Pandas. So what I'm going to do is, since I've gotten that this is where I am, I can copy this directory like this. I'm going to copy it from the beginning here, the one that shows me the current working directory. I'll copy it, and I'll go here and I will edit it. So I will edit this and I will paste it. And then what is remaining here, because my own is having Pandas, so I'm going to put Pandas, because that's where I am. So I'm going to put Panda, and then I'm going to run it again. When you run it, it is correct. So if you check your working directory now, look, I won't go back here to rerun this code again. Here I click here and run it again. It is not going to give me an error. Why? Because I have changed to the right working directory. So this is very, very important for you. If you look here, see now is in Pandas. Then I click here again, no error. So note this, because this is the way you can work with the current directory you are. So I've used head to get this location. What else can we do again? Like I said, remember, we can also see the tail. The tail, like I said, we have talked about it last time. It is the last part of the data which we have. If you run this, you get this. This is the end of the data here, which is 46145. If you go to the Excel, go to the last data, you will see it is this particular data. You will see, like we have agreed and we have seen the last time. Now, what else can you do with this data? Let's assume that you want to know the type of data it is. So you can say data dot, like we have been using data types. So if you run this code, you can see the data types we have here. So what's the issue? Data dot data types, sorry, is the meaning X. So you can see here the first ID here, which is this first one in the Excel, is the ID. The ID here, what type of data is it? You can see it. It is a word, integer. The name is object. All of them are object. The local government data is integer again. Why do you check this? You want to know the type of file you are interacting with. What's the type of file? So I've seen, using the data type, I've known this is the type of data I am interacting with, and this is what I'm going to use. Now, how do you access a particular data? For me, let me use, for example, I want to access some of these locations. I want to see the name, assuming I want to work, because by the time we'll be plotting using GeoPandas, or by the time we'll be using to visualize our map, because we're going to build web map, I ask you, I want you to label this map we are going to produce with the names of the local government. This is how you can interact with them, and then this is why you go to website and you see some maps showing a particular name. This is the interaction. This is the steps we are going to get into it. Now I want to access the names, because this is a big Excel file. Like you see, it is 146,045. You can see it is a very long data. So now how do I access them? I will return back. I want to access the name. What do I need to do? Remember, I saved the data as my data. And what else do I need to do? So for me, I want to access the state name, for example, or I want to know what is the name of this hospital. Yeah, go ahead. For this question, go ahead and ask. Okay, so that means it is not question. So for the fact that I've seen that the name of this particular place, I want to access the state, for example, and I want to access what is the name of the state, and I've read this and I see, sorry, the name of the hospital, health facility, and I've seen that there is a name here, and I want to access that name. So I will come here and type it the way the name is written, and I will close it. And when I close it, how do I see what I need? I have to come here and say state.head to see the beginning of the file. Then I will run it. Now this is giving me the 5 first name of the hospital: GRA nursing, Grecian nursing, something like that. So if you go down here, you can see the first 5 name here. It started from GRA and ended with Kopa, that is in Medugri. If you come here, you can see the 5 of them here. Remember, this is default. If you want to see 10 of them, what you need to do, you put 10 and you rerun it again, and you are going to get the 10 first name as it is. So this is, what am I doing? I'm accessing the column by using this method. So this is exactly what I did here, and I'm able to access it. If I leave it, if I go to tail and I put up a tail here, it means I am going to see the tail, which you can see here. This is the last data, as you can see, 100 and okay, so sorry, 46,145 columns. So this is the name of the hospital. So what it means is that if I want to access local government area, so I have to put LGA underscore code. Remember this code key here, so I'll just put the code here and I will run it again, and that's going to give me the code here. If I want to access the category, I will go here and replace it with category, as you can see here. I just need to copy this if it is too fast for me. I'll copy this and replace it with this same list, and I'll run it again, and you can see the category. So whichever name you want to access or column you want to access, this is the perfect way you can access the column that you want to access at any point in time. Now, the same thing happened to the tail. Like I said, what type of data are you using? You can access the type of data by saying the type of data, which is what you are using. So you call the name, the data which you are using, and you say, give me the type of data of, for example, let's say name that we are using. So I'm going to say, give me the type of file data of name. If I run it, you can see that it is panda call series dot series. So this is just like accessing the type of data which you call the name. Then what else can you do? Also, I want to know what is the shape of my data. The shape is what is the length. What is the length of the data I am talking about? So if I paste this, I have copied here. What do I need supposed to do? I will say dot shape is what is the length. So if I run this, I should be able to see the total number of the data, which is what you are seeing here, 146 row. This is how many names are related to that column. So this can be applied in different ways, or it can be applied in different scenarios. Now, quickly, how do we see two things? For example, I want to see the name and I want to see which state is it located. So let's quickly say that. So I want to see the name of the hospital as well as the state the hospital is located. This is the only thing I want to be seeing. So what am I supposed to do? I'll do the same thing where I'm going to say call the data which I am interested in, and then because I'm going to use two things, I'm going to put the two lists which I'm going to access, and I'm going to say give me the name of the hospital as well as the state this hospital is located. How do I know how to call the state? I will return back here and look at this column. I'll go to this table here and I'll go here and say, oh, it is written here as states. So you can see state name here. I can come here and copy it, and then I will return back to the place here and say I am looking for state name. So I will put the state name here as it is. So is the name, the heading, the column is the state name. Then when this is done, remember that you have to close it up because it is two, so you have to do two closing. And then what next? Call the head. Let's see the title. So what are you going to call? Is going to be the name underscore state here, as you can see. So I'm going to say name underscore state dot head, because it is the head that I want to see. So what, when I run it, you can see now that I'm only having GRA and Boronu. What do I do? I use this, and then I use this. You can see here this, and then I use this. If I want to access name and type, I will return back here and change this thing from name and type. If I run it again, you can see that it is the name and type. What did I do? I was able to access these two items only. This is just what I need to be displayed. So this, you can make it like this is what you want to be displayed on the web. I only want it name and type, and you customize it like this, and that's work for you this way. Then what else can you check? You can also check other things like in this, what type of data is it, and you can also see what is the shape of this data. So the same thing we did here by putting the shape here. So I can copy this and return back here and then put the shape. what is the size that have to do with the name and this. So if I put dot shape here and run it again, I can see that the total is this and this. Why am I having 2 here? Because this is in 2 columns. So it is still the same total number, but now we are having 2 columns because it is having a 2 columns. So what else again? Let's quickly go into filter. How do I filter a specific row that I am interested in? This is very, very important because you remember the assignment I gave you on GIS. I am doing what I am doing right now is what we do in ArcGIS, that we're saying select by attribute, select by this, give me this. Remember the question I asked in the quiz where we say if you query by this, how many do you have? That's exactly what we are doing. But now we are interacting with the data by writing the code. And this is the logic behind that thing you are clicking in ArcGIS. So it is important that you get to understand this because I don't just want us to be a normal people who produce map. I want us to be working with big data because that's where it is. And also we are working on a bigger, that like web-based dynamic map that we need to work on. We need to know how this works. So this is exactly what we are doing. We are asking questions. How many are there? When I say shape, I was able to query and know the name and type, how many shape it is. So now, how do I filter? How do I select? Like, let me call select like the way we do select by attribute. So now, for example, I want to see the type of hospital. I want to select only primary health care, for example. So I'm going to use type because that's what I want to assume that I want to select. And I want to say, I'm going to say that it is the data. I just copied this, I pasted what I copied, I want to modify it. And I can say that it is the data that I'm going to work on, which also goes array the data that I'm going, because I'm going to go into 2 times, and then I'm going to say give me the type of the hospital that is going to be, I close this, and that is going to be exactly, remember when we use operators, I'm going to say primary because I'm going to say primary, for example. Then if I run this particular code, but before then let me put the head. So I'm going to say type dot head here, sorry. So if I run this, oh, there is a mistake, and then this comes here, this comes here. The reason is because of the parentheses at the end. Let's run it again. And also there is a mistake. There is no name that called TWT. Yeah, there's a mistake here. I type E instead of W instead of E, and I run it again, and you can see here that it is telling me that the name here that is called primary, that is the type we are using, is equal to the data and then the type in here that is called primary. So from here there is no name that is named like this. How do I know why? What is the problem? Because here the title here, remember here, says here, when I access primary, primary is written in capital letter, not small letter. So this was a problem here, why there is nothing that I have here. So I have to come here and change this and put it in capital letter, and I run it again. And automatically you can see that the hospital that have primary is what I have here, or the health center. You cannot have any other thing that is not like in this type of category. So what you have now, that give me the total, that the data that is named as primary. So what you have here in this aspect is you can never see any other thing here under type that is named as primary, that is not primary. Look, even if you say let us put the head and put it 100, and let's scroll across 100 row. Now let's see it here. You see this is 100. If you keep on zooming, like scrolling like this is 100. You can see the row is 100 multiplied by 15, as you can see. Now look, you can see it, clip it here because it's wrong. You can never see any data that is not typed as primary. Why? Because we have said give me only thing that is primary. Now remember that I told us in order primary, or let's go to functional please. I think there is a column we know we have here as functional. So let's go to let me quickly check the Excel and remember. But I know that there is a column that we know that whether it is functional or not functional. Yeah, let's go to functional here. It is named functional status. Let me copy this and return back here and replace this with functional status. When we run it, you see that the type here there is something that is wrong. So we need to say here, we need to replace here with functional, and here we say functional. So let's look for the data of functional. We have unknown. Now let's copy unknown and return back here and say it is unknown. Sorry, let me get my power back. All right. Okay, so if you look here, you see that we have functional and unknown. So if you look here, you see that, remember when I told us that day, how many, if you query functional equals to unknown, how many? It is in our assignment. Then if you remember, you see that this is here. All the functionals are here created. For me, I want to know in this functional, how many, remember the assignment that we say in this function, in the functional, how many are functional? So what are we supposed to do? You still have to come here and get only from the data here, from here to here, copy it, and then come here and tell me what is the shape. So I'm going to say dot shape. Now if you run this, you can see that it is unknown is 11753. It is 15 column. Now let's leave function on unknown and let's go to functional. So let me go to Excel and check another one that is called functional. Functional here. So let me copy and return back here. Just replace this location of functional status unknown to functional, and then also return back here and replace the location of unknown here again to functional, and then I will run the same query again. So first, let me run the first line. You can see all of them that are functional. Let me make it 5 because it's getting longer, so let me leave it by default, or let me make it by 1. Run again. These are the ones that are functional, and then if you run the shape, this answer the question I ask, because automatically you can see here that among the status functional, what is the shape? We have 3, 4, 2, something like that. Then you go to the next one. What is again not functional? You can also make not functional. How do you get it? Return back to the same place and put not functional. So if you say not functional and then run the code again, you see that not functional automatically comes here. And then if you come here and say what is the shape of not functional, and then if you run it again, you can see that it is 104. Now this is the same thing we were doing in ArcGIS, but now we are actually using code to get the same thing done, and that's how we can get the shape. Now if you look at there, we have integer here. You can see this is an integer id and then local government code. Now how do you access a particular number, like the way we're doing population data, and we say population that is bigger than 20 and above or 200 and above? How do you access those ones? So we can also use that. So let me use local government because LGA, and then we say equal to, so we can now say in the LGA, let us also access the data we are using, and we say the data that we are using. Then we now say here that let us look for the LGA, because remember the LGA is have to be with LGA, that's the local government underscore code. How do I call this local government underscore code? Because here when I query the type of data, I see that the best name here is local government underscore code. So I come here and say local government underscore code, but I want to get local government underscore code that is maybe greater than, let's say less than 50, and then I will say give me LGA dot head. I want to see the first thing that is up there, so I'm going to say dot head. Then I'm going to run the code, and it says this is an error. I didn't close the parentheses where I think I didn't close it here. So if I run it again, I can see that there is no value that is less than 50 in here. Let's check adjust to, let's make it 90, and let's run again. There is no code that is less than 90, so let's make it 100 and run again. There is no value in local government code. What I mean in local government is this local government number here. There is no code, there is no number here that is up to, that is less than 100 here. So now let's go to another one. What if we say give me the one that is less than or equal to 100? So let's check that and run it again, and it says that, oh, there is invalid syntax. So let's use equal to and run it. There is invalid syntax because of that. So let's say that is less than, we say 101 for example, and we run it again, and you see here there is none based on what we have here. So let's make it 102, and you can see from here we started having 102. You can see here 101, 101, because we have a code, the particular one that is equal to 101. So you can see here, you can see 101 here that started coming up. Now this is a way you can access a particular data that is less than a particular thing. So if you ask yourself, how do you get the shape of this 101, assuming I ask you which of them that is less than 101, what do you need to do? You do the same thing, copy from here to here, and then go to the next part of the code and say paste it and say give me the shape. And if I run the shape, you can see that we have 13 data sets that is less than 102. 13 data sets that is less than 102. What if I say that is exactly equal to 102? That means I will come here and say, instead of saying greater, I will say equal to 102, and it says that I supposed to use compare. So if I run this, you can see this is the one that is exactly 102. And if I come here and I run this code again, you can see that it is 65 that is exactly 120, 102. If I say 101, because that's the first place, if I run it, you can see the one that is 101. What is, how many shape is 101? I can put 101 and run again. It is 13 of them, that is 101. So you can see now the same query we were doing in ArcGIS, that is exactly what we're doing right here. So you can look for the head, and then just like that, you can interact with the rest of them. Now you can see the shape like I said, and you can check. For example, you see I didn't know which one is them, so but I can say give me, I want to know inside this data which is the highest value, whether the value is up to that. So I can now say that the LGA, I think is LGA code, for example, that is let's say is greater than 100 and 100. If I run this code, this is true because all the LGA is greater than 120, 100 here. This is how I get it. How do I know? If I say that, is there any of them that is less than 100? All of them are false. So there is no single code here that is less than 100 in terms of local government. So it is false because there is none of them is less than 100. Then if you say is there any of them that is exactly 100, it says false. There is none of them that is exactly 100. But is there any of them that is exactly 101? This is false. Like it says the local government code says here that is exactly 101. I doubt. Yeah, so if you say how many are 102, you see here this is false. This is the first one is not up, but line 2 is 2. Let's go to the line 2 here. If you go to the second line here, the line 2, which is this one, if you return back here, you will see that this one, this is the local government, which is 102, and then the code says true because there is exactly of them that is 102. So this is a way you can interact with your data. And because of time, I am a bit running a bit quickly, a bit quick, so I am just going to do few things, and then maybe we can actually round it up because I don't want us to exceed the time we're supposed to have. So again, how do you do something like, how do you check, select a particular column, a particular size of data? What I mean is that I want to check inside this particular data that we have. Let me give you example. Well, let me use class X for example, and the classes I'm going to use is I want to check between a particular data range. So I am still going to, let me paste the data that I collected then and modify it so that local government code, for example here, that is in, so dot is in, remember the query in ArcGIS contain all this. So and I want to say that it is in, and I'm going to say open bracket. Let's say since we are using 102, so let's still use 102 here. Let's just leave the 102 that we have here. And then what else am I going to do that is also in the number that is going up to column 13? So I will close that up because this have started with open bracket here. Then let me close with the bracket again. Then I'll run it. Yeah, there is an issue. Yeah, so I supposed to close it with this square bracket. Then if I run it again, this is 2. So there is no error. So what do I need to do? I need to say here, I need to say class s plus xx dot head. In class xs dot head, if I run it now, what happens here? You can see right here and right now that I was able to bring up a data that is 100 and that is in 102, and then it brings me up the whole lot of columns here. So you can see here it bring it up from this is 1 here, this is 1, and then this is 13. Remember that this column FID here is this is where it stops here. So now it gives me the wrong way from the beginning here to the end here. So if I put here as 1 and run the same code again and then say give me the head, what happens here? So it's now look here, it now up here. So you see the whole this FID is now up now. So this is a way I can access it in this particular aspect. Now what if I say I want to see what is here like? I want to see the shape. You can also do the shape thing like I said. You can also describe the data the way like I said, like we talk about describing the data. But now let us say how do you select a specific row and a specific column? Assuming I say I need 100, the row 100 and a column of 100. So what I supposed to do? Let me use example the state name which we used earlier. So let me use the state's name. I think I wrote it like this. Then I am going to paste this and modify that as well because it will be faster for us. But now I am going to use something I want you to look at very well. I am going to say data dot location, which is LCO is called location, that is greater than or less than 2, and then I want that as well to give me the state name inside this a particular location that is greater than 2, and I want it to give me the state name. So now I am going to type the state name. Remember where the state name is coming from because that's the title of that particular, that's the title of this particular the title of this particular column. So in this case, what am I supposed to do? Let me say state name now underscore name dot head. Now if I run this, you see now that what happens, it only selects me the only column that is greater than 2 and the name is state. You see here 1033 102 102, that is sorry, that is less than this. So let's say we are looking for a particular column that is equal to 200, is equal to 102, and that's I want it, so I want exactly 102 and the state name. See what comes here. Then I want something that is 200 and 202 with the state name. I will run it and you see there is no one that is exactly 202 and state name. Then if I say I want something less than 202 with the state name, it will bring many of them. I want something that is, let me look for a code here. Down here, let's use 111 here, which we see in Boronu. No, let's look for another one that is not in Boronu so that we can see the difference of what I'm saying. So I want a state name that is this number. So let me copy this number and then come here and paste it. So let me paste this number, and in pasting it, I'm going to say that it is exactly that particular number. If I run it, you will see it is Kogi. How? Look at Kogi here. We are here. It is Kogi. It is here. If you go down and say 13 Ekiti, let's copy this code and return back here, and then paste this thing here, and then return this again and run it again. You will see what Ekiti. What is it here? because I want a kitty. What if I want it to be in the local government? We come back to the title of this thing and say change it from what the state name it is to what is it exactly. Let me drag it faster. It is called LGA name. So I will come back here and change this thing to what? LGA underscore name, and then I'll run it again. What happened? It give me Oye. So this is a way you can access a particular thing that you want. The same thing, if you also want functional, you want to see whether it's functional, you can also say timestamp. Copy this timestamp, copy it here, go back to the code and say I want it as timestamp. Run it again. What you have here is timestamp. So you are not going to see any other thing other than the timestamp. So this is exactly how you can access a particular, select a particular column that you are interested in. So this is exactly what you're going to do. Whichever one you call, that goes in for you. Now, what if you want to select a range? A range, in selecting a range, you go and call the data you're working with, whatever name you save it is just left for you, and say here I want it in this particular time, use I location. And that I location, you need to define, first thing you need to define is what is the range of the column and row. Remember when we're doing indexing, so I'm going to start with 0 to 5 for first clarity, and then I'm also going to start with 0 to 5 as well, so that we see what I'm talking about. So in this case, what am I going to do? I'm going to close it here, and then what next? I am going to say give me the head. So in this, I'm going to say data dot the head, and then open and close, and then I'll run it. Sorry, my bad. Open and close, and then I'll run it, and this is what happens here. What does this mean to all of us? Let me simply explain this in details. The first thing here says give me only 5, 0 to 5, 0 to 5 as related to this particular. Give me only 0 to 5. Now I have said the data I have plus the I location give me 0 to 5, and as well as this. So this is exactly what I have here. Now in that data, if I say give me 0 to 2, if I run it, you can see that what we have here should be 0 to 2. Sorry, the data we have dot I location, then the beginning, the end supposed to give me this. Then in this part, let me change this to, let's say, 8. Then let's also replace this with 9 and run it again. So we see that this is from ID and this. So I think, hold on a bit, let me rerun the data again here and run again. This is the data, and let me go to the head, and this is the head. Now let me return back again and then run this. What do I have? I supposed to have a short of this, not the long of it. So I suppose this is supposed to actually give me this particular range, because I want to select a particular data range. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Data.head, data.location, up to 0 to the range I want to select, and then give me the data. Yeah, I think here one. Yeah, this is the right thing to do. I didn't supposed to bring the head. Yeah, so here we have this time range, which is 0 to, if you come down here, you have from 0 here. This is give me the first two column, 2 rows, sorry, means 0 here and here. Now this particular one is the first two things here give you the length of the row. The second thing here give you the particular column, the range. So if you see here, if I make this thing 1 and run it again, you can see that this have increased from column 1, column 2, column 3 down to 9. Now let's go back here and count it. From here, remember it is not 0, so it is definitely going to start with the nothing, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if you return back here, you see that it definitely stop at the time zone. So if I want to see only between alternative name and type, what am I supposed to do? This is 1, this is 2, so I have to put this thing as 3. And if I run it again, where will it start? It start with alternative name. And I only want it to stop here at category. I will go here and remove this and put it 8, and I'll run it. It will stop at category. And I only want it to move from 0 to 5, then I will move it here and put 5 and run it. The table is going to continue. If I make this and put it 15 and I run it, the table is going to go longer. If I make this here and put it at, let's say I only want it from 0 to 8, I will leave it like this and run it, and you can see now from the beginning to 8 has been shown for me. So this is a way we can actually work on the data. So you can see here I only have category here. So this is a way you can actually select a particular range of row and a range of column. Now we are almost done. This is 9 minutes for us to close up, but I just want to show us few things a bit before we close up. Assuming I want to overwrite what I have inside that table, I have a particular value I'm not interested in, and I want to replace that value with what I want to have, what I want and how I want it. What am I going to do? To replace this, let me give you an example of what I'm trying to say. Let me reduce this thing a bit to 5 so that it will not be long, because I don't want to waste time copying much. But what I'm trying to say is that assuming I want to replace something inside that my entire data, I want to get something replaced in my entire data, what am I going to do? So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say here that the location of that data which I want, which is going to be, let's say 0. So I'm going to start with 0. Now let's not use 0. Let me go back to the data and let's use the name of the hospital here. Let's use 1. So I'm going to place it with 1, and then within the range of 1, the column of 1 to the particular column of 3, what do I want to replace it in 2 column? I want to replace that with a particular thing I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say here that I want to replace it with my name. So I'm going to say Kingsley Shaker. So if I put this and run it, what happens? Sorry, I made a mistake. Bad. So if I run this, and then if I say here, let me go down a bit and say head. Sorry, data. The data dot the head. What will it give me? You can see here that inside here, look here, you see that I've replaced the first from 1. This is 1, this is 2. Look here, this is 1 and 2. Then look at the column of 2, that is 1 and 2, which is the row. This is row 1 and 2. And what is the next thing? The column of 2 here, which is global ID. I want to replace that with Kingsley Checker. This is exactly what I did. Okay, now let me replace from the beginning. So I'm going to replace from the beginning here, Kingsley Checker here, which is here. So it means that I need to change that. I want you to replace it from the beginning, meaning I'm going to put 0 here. If I run it again, you see that Kingsley Checker have started from the beginning here. What did I do? I write into that particular Excel. So what it means is that inside here that I have global ID, I want to replace it with a particular name. For example, this GRA nursing, I want to replace it with Pablo. What am I going to do? I'm going to go here and type Pablo. And I want to replace this thing with Pablo. This thing, we use it. They use this thing for where you want to spoil something for somebody. So you are writing into something and you can make a changes into a data set. Yeah, so we go stop here for this explanation, but this is a way you write into something even though it is there, but when you can write, like, make those changes on it. So as you can see here now, assuming that this is Pablo and I want to put, here is Pablo and then here is GRA, and I want to replace GRA with Pablo name. What am I supposed to do? This is 0, as you see. This is 3, as you can see. If I say from 0 to 0, what do you think? So I can say that I want to make it 0 to 1, and then I want to replace the column of 1. So I have to replace the column of 1 with Pablo. What happens? And you see here automatically I have done here. What is here now is Pablo. And I want to say the primary data here, this place is critical because I'm still going to ask you this question on this because I want you to know how we can use this perfectly. Here I have 12413. I want to replace it with Pablo. What am I going to do? The first thing I need to know is that the location of this data is, I want it 0, but the location of this data is in the column of 2, right? So I'm going to go there and replace it with 2. Now, what is the line? 1, because it is the row 1. Now, what is the column here? Pablo is in word 1. This is 0, 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is in 6. So I want to replace Pablo here. So I will go down here and say 6 and I will run it. What happens? Pablo. I have replaced Pablo there without doing another thing. I single-handedly goes there and replace it with Pablo. So this is exactly how I can access this, and I've changed, overwritten what is inside that particular Excel sheet. So like I said, we are not going to go deeper into this because this aspect, or we are going to go deeper, whichever way, you need to understand what I'm trying to say here, because this can be used well and at the same time this can also be misused. So I know one more will jump in deep, but what you just need to know is that as it is, if I want to replace all of them here down here with Pablo in the column of word that I want all of them to be Pablo, what am I supposed to do? I can just stand here and say, let me put 12, and then I say replace everything that is from 1 to 12 as Pablo, and I run it. What happens? Everything here, as you can see, become Pablo except number 1. If you go down here, let's put the head to 11 so that you can see what I'm saying. Run it again. See that everything on this line here from beginning to the end are now Pablo. So this is a way you can write, you can assign a particular value to a selection based on the locations and I locations. So this is a way we're going to go